It's 9:46. Let's turn to the news review of Kate Hardcastle, retail and consumer expert. Hello, Kate.
Good morning.
Welcome back.
Thank you.
And Andrew Tuck is editor of Global Affairs and Lifestyle magazine Monocle. Hello, Andrew.
Hello.
And Lloyd Grossman is a foodie, but also chair of the Royal Parks, very much in the news at the moment. Are you surrounded by litter, Lloyd? Are you sitting on a litter mountain?
No, but litter has been a problem. It's jolly nice to be with you today, Paddy.
Welcome back. Well, let's sprint round the front pages. First of all, Kate.
The Observer says that jobless total to hit 1980s levels without fresh state support.
OK, that's a very quick headline from you there. And off we go. Andrew, what's that front page?
I've got the Mail on Sunday, which is billions to get Britain booming. This is an interview with the Prime Minister. But the more interesting sub-headline is Boris does press-ups for the Mail on Sunday. And there's a picture of him doing press-ups, his bottom in the air, right at the front of the paper.
Is that a new TV reality show?
It would be a very good show, wouldn't it? And first of all, I thought maybe he'd dropped something on the carpet. But no, he's apparently doing press-ups for us. Doesn't tell us how many press-ups he did in the interview.
Lloyd, a front page from you?
The Sunday Times piles the pressure on Robert Jenrick with a headline, "Kill Donors' £1 billion deal. Officials begged Minister." So I suppose we're meant to be shocked that politicians and the super rich are not observing social distancing.
I mean, that meeting did happen before the lockdown, but I mean, I get your connection. It's all there together for us on the front pages. Kate, one of your own picks, any website, any paper, get us going.
So I'd like to talk about the fact that although we've seen the opening of non-essential retail and we've heard further news this week about the likes of hairdressers and pubs, etc., our gyms are still not open. So I go to the Sunday Telegraph, page 11, which suggests that using a gym does not increase risk of infection after a study from Norway has been carried out and showed that of 3,764 individuals under a certain study, only one participant had actually contracted COVID-19, and that was then found out to be through his workplace. There's been a lot of pressure on, particularly from the Baroness Tanya Gray-Thompson, who's using her role as the chair of UK Active, to suggest that unless something is done urgently, we may start to never see the reopening of some of our swimming pools and leisure centres, and talks about the £3.3 billion of social value. So it's a critical time for these facilities that we all need in terms of our health and our well-being to keep our communities richer for it.
Yes, and in the absence of pools opening and gyms opening, there's a lot of exercising going on in the parks. Are you glad about that, Lloyd?
Yes, I think so, because one of the effects of the plague has been the fact that people are now realizing just how important the public realm is. And for years, the public realm has been under attack as space has become more privatized and more monetarized. And people now realize that we have to have shared spaces in which to live meaningful lives and to behave together as citizens.
I think we're going to need this al fresco revolution this summer for our restaurants, for all sorts of organisations. And it'd be great if gyms were encouraged to start using squares and parks in all of our cities. But you do feel a bit sorry for all the trees when in the parks I see, because people have strapped all sorts of ropes and pulleys on them and to do their press up. So let's hope the trees survive it as well.
Kate, and
yes, we definitely, as someone who looks after 177,000 trees, I really don't want people using our beautiful trees as bits of gym equipment.
Kate, what do you think about Andrew's off-the-cuff suggestion for an al fresco economy for gyms and more? And
so important. Absolutely. I think we need to repurpose as much space as possible. We really have got businesses about to hit the wall, and anything we can do to think a little bit more maverick and outside of the box to keep those organisations going and be realistic about it, the better. We've also got to do a lot of work to make sure that we are good neighbours to the rest of the citizens. Because one of the things I've seen doing all the reports from retail reopenings is that whilst a lot of it comes from the businesses themselves completing the safety measures, we ourselves have to behave within that environment to make sure other people feel comfortable.
OK. Andrew, The Observer, page 12. Suburbs thrive as home workers choose not to go back to the office.
Well, this picks up on a very similar theme. So this is saying that just 1 in 10 employees wants to go back to their old routine. Many companies and many organisations, even in government, have said, look, you're not going to be back in your office for a full year. So don't rush back. But what's happening is that people are using their neighbourhoods where they live and not going into the city centre. So here in London, if you wander out from here on a Saturday, it's not as busy as you'd imagine. They're saying it's just a fifth of the normal flow of footfall of traffic coming into the city. So it looks like there's going to be potentially a risk of the centres of cities re-hollowing out, just as they did in the 60s and 70s. People going back to this suburban dream again.
OK, and that's from The Observer you're reading there, page 12. Lloyd, let's change the subject. You've got the Sunday Times. Tony Blair's given an interesting interview to the magazine.
I know, what a shocker. Tony Blair, quote, admitted he had not done a load of laundry, the weekly grocery shop, or cooked a meal for his family in 23 years. Now, this is a tremendous contrast to the way the Mail has depicted Boris Johnson, not only doing press-ups, but also changing nappies and actually running the country.
Well, at the same time.
We have Bojo the new man, as opposed to Tony Blair, who now appears to be the old man. It's a bit of a shocker.
The interview says that being surrounded by security, it's very hard to lead a normal life. So it sort of shines a spotlight on the sort of ghost life of the former PMs. And is there a full interview in the magazine for listeners who are interested?
Yes, there is. And that's an excuse that many of us have used in the past, Patrick.
Kate, let's turn the dial a bit. On sale now, the Sunday Times. Celebs fees.
This is just brilliant. So in terms of the acting community, a lot of people have had their jobs affected, obviously. We've heard pantomimes cancelled. So how are actors and the celebrities repurposing themselves, getting some cash in during this time? They are using a new, not new, but it's certainly new in terms of the amount of people that have rushed to it to use it, a platform called Cameo. Others are available, where you can, as a member of the public, buy a celebrity message to get a hello from your favourite celebrity. Just to give you an idea, we've got for £30 the extreme of you can have a personal message from Nigel Havers of Chariots of Fire fame, or indeed Paul Chuckle, one half of the Chuckle brothers. So it's an absolutely brilliant read to see how much people are charging. It's been the saviour, apparently, of John Chalice's, who played Boise in Only Fools and Horses. His pension fund's been heavily supplemented by this. So there we go. Maverick celebrities repurposing themselves.
Yes, Gloria Gaynor, £415. Would you like what celebrity would you like, Lloyd, to give you a message paid for or not?
I would like a message from the late graphic designer Milton Glaser, who had a sensational obituary in The Observer today. And the most inspirational quote I've seen for years, as he approached his 90th year, he said, "The world is a very astonishing place. I feel fortunate about the fact that I'm still astonished, that things still amaze me. The possibility for learning never disappears." I think that's a message we could all use.
And it's the first time in a long time we've heard a reviewer pick the obituary section. Are you a fan, everyone here? Let's start with you, Lloyd, of the obituaries. Is it some of the best writing, do you think, still in the papers?
Yes, it is some of the best writing, and nowadays there seems to be quite a sort of interesting mix of either very, very elderly World War II veterans or much less elderly rock stars who had rather too colourful lives.
I love them all. You get to see people's history in its full arc. You get to see characters that you didn't know existed. It's certainly the page to turn to for digging into your history and understanding your country a bit better.
I think I agree with that. In an era where we're a one-line headline about somebody's personality or characteristics, the obituary gives us a much rounded picture, and you actually think very differently about certain people after reading it.
You are listening to the BH News Review with Kate Hardcastle, Lloyd Grossman and Andrew Tuck, the editor of lifestyle magazine Monocle. So with that in mind, Andrew, give us something surprising from your reviewing this morning. You've been here for an hour.
What a bit of a test. Well, I'm going to continue here with the theme of Boris kind of putting the nation on a diet, apparently. This is according to the Sunday Times. And on page 8, they have this story about childhood obesity, which says that extraordinarily that 1 in 5 4-year-olds is deemed to be overweight when they turn up to school. And this has been made even worse during lockdown with the loss of routine, loss of of school exercise. And apparently he wants to put the nation on a diet and is going to encourage people to have more gastric band surgery, for example. But when the NHS has been so overwhelmed, it's hard to see that kind of idea going down well. But you understand it when you lose routine, and for people working from home, I certainly know I've devoured my body weight in sourdough more than once a week.
You wouldn't know. Have you got fatter, Lloyd?
I have actually. I have to say I have lost 10 pounds.
Wow. Can you tell us how?
I've been doing quite a lot of boxing recently to prepare myself for the struggles of the post-COVID world.
I suppose it's just prejudice, but I picture you more, as a kitchen fighter than as a. Well, congratulations! Congratulations, Kate. Say cheese from the Observer.
This is page 21, and I'm a little bit frightened by this, actually, but it shows, again, brilliance in terms of the UK art scene. It's the idea that augmented reality app will be able to put life-size characters in your living room, with Wallace and Gromit being the star of the show. There's going to be the characters in modelling clay scanned into a computer, and then clever technology which renders them in real time with your mobile phone as avatars. And if you want them, you can have them at full life size. So those 1980s characters that became very iconic, Wallace and Gromit, roaming around your front room if you so wish.
Okay, and a minute for you, Lloyd, on Captain Tom Moore in the Mail on Sunday.
Yes, our beloved Captain Tom Moore. According to the Mail, M&S and John Lewis fight over Captain Tom Moore as retailers battle to make 100-year-old fundraising hero the face of their Christmas ads. It somehow seems slightly wrong because Tom Moore is the only person in the country who has roughly the same status as the Queen. And I don't know if he should be doing advertising.
Well, he's definitely getting a new business life, and that's from two of the papers. And to you, Andrew, you can tell us out in 30 seconds or so, the Sunday Telegraph, Crown Jewels in the Old Vic.
Well, it's just great to see a theatre review back in the papers. This is a review of Lungs with Matt Smith and Claire Foy at the Old Vic. It's a performance with nobody in the audience apart from a few members of the crew, but you get Zoom to watch it. But it's just so important that we get our cultural institutions back up and running, especially the world of theatre, which has been so horribly hit and so badly supported. Kate,
have you been watching any inspirational Zoom videos?
I've been watching a lot of Zoom videos, but I've also been enjoying the arts that have been on the on the TV or via the apps whilst we get our love for theatre back. I am absolutely with the idea that our arts need much more support, as do our gyms and social areas. We need them for our well-being. We need them for our roundness. So I can't wait for some of the return to normal.
Yes, I mean, listeners write with great concern for the arts, the musicians, and I know that venues are closing. Thank you very much, all of you, for showing how much you care about these subjects and bringing us the review. Andrew Tuck of Monocle, thank you very much.
Thank you.
You definitely more than passed the test. It's the best you could possibly have done. And Kate Hardcastle, thank you to you, and Lloyd Grossman as well.